Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. Sunlight poured through a gap in the curtains, and Nathan opened his eyes, sensing that the empty seat beside him had cooled. The clock read 6:30 a.m. It was the third time he'd woken up early in the morning to find Vanessa wasn't around. She would say it was insomnia, that she had gone downstairs for water, but those explanations were no longer convincing in his mind. 15 years of marriage had made him know his wife's habits like the back of his hand. Vanessa is a different person these days. New perfumes, frequent overtime, inexplicable smiles, and secret phone calls. Nathan isn't a paranoid person, but when all signs point to the same dire conclusion, even the most trusting heart can begin to waver. He went downstairs softly, and the kitchen light was on. Vanessa had her back to him, her cell phone pressed to her ear, her voice muffled. "I miss you too," she said softly. "It's been so hard to find time lately. Emma's been home after school, and Nathan." Nathan's heart sank at the sound of his name. He hesitated, and instead of entering the kitchen, he quietly retreated back up the stairs. In that moment, he felt a strange calmness, as if his soul had left his body and was calmly observing the unfolding tragedy. Nathan works for an architectural firm in Toronto, Canada, where he oversees structural safety on major projects. For 15 years, he has been the backbone of the family, incredibly loyal to Vanessa and their 12-year-old daughter, Emma. They live in a beautiful two-story house on the outskirts of the city and have a seemingly perfect life. Vanessa is a high school art teacher who loves her job and her students. They met at an art show when Nathan was captivated by her passion and creativity. Over the years of their marriage, they had experienced the ups and downs of life, but Nathan never imagined their marriage would face such a crisis. There was an unusual silence at the breakfast table. Emma is focused on her phone while Vanessa seems distracted. "I might be late tonight," Vanessa said, not looking Nathan in the eye. "There's a teacher's meeting at school." Nathan nodded, noting that Emma quickly glanced up at her mother before lowering her head again. There was something in those eyes. Was it knowledge or unease? "I can pick up Emma from school," Nathan said. "I got off early today." "No," Vanessa replied immediately. "She's going to a friend's house after school. I've already made arrangements." Emma didn't look up, but Nathan could see her shoulders tense slightly. Nathan left the office early that afternoon, but didn't go home. He sat in his car, parked on the corner of their street, and watched the minutes tick by. At 3 p.m., when school let out, he saw Vanessa's car go by, but Emma wasn't in it. He followed Vanessa's car, keeping a safe distance, his heart racing. Instead of driving to the school, she drove to an upscale apartment complex on the other side of town. Nathan stopped across the street and watched Vanessa walk into a modern-style apartment building. "Dad." Startled, Nathan turned his head to see Emma standing outside the car window. "What are you doing here?" he asked, getting out of the car quickly. "I took the school bus home and realized no one was there, so I texted you," Emma said, holding up her phone. "But you didn't reply. I used my cell phone to locate you and saw you were here." Nathan glanced at the apartment building and then back to Emma. "Didn't your mom say you were going to a friend's house today?" Emma's expression became complicated. "She says that a lot." The words carried much more weight than Emma's age deserved. Nathan took a deep breath and felt a terrible sense of foreboding. "Emma, is there something you want to tell me?" Emma lowered her head and kicked a small stone on the ground. "I don't want to betray my mom." "Telling me the truth is never a betrayal," Nathan said softly. "And if something makes you uncomfortable, you should tell me." "I see Mom and Uncle Christopher together all the time," Emma finally said. "And they think I don't know, but I see them." Kisses. Christopher, Nathan's friend and a regular in their social circle. The man who's always overly solicitous at family gatherings. The man Vanessa always says is just a good friend. "How long has this been going on?" Nathan asked, his voice almost a whisper. "It's been at least a year," Emma said, her eyes moist. "And I'm sorry, Dad. I should have told you sooner." Nathan embraced his daughter and felt her thin body tremble in his arms. "Not your fault," he said. "Not your fault at all." Nathan didn't bring it up that night. He had dinner with Emma and pretended everything was normal. Vanessa came back late with the excuse that the meeting had been extended. Nathan noticed that her lipstick was a darker color than it had been in the morning, and her hair was slightly disheveled. Over the next few days, Nathan began gathering evidence. He checked his cell phone bill and found numerous calls between Vanessa and Christopher over the past few months. He checked his credit card statement and found restaurant and hotel charges on her so-called overtime days. But the most heartbreaking discovery was in Emma's room. While organizing his daughter's school bag, he finds a diary detailing everything Emma sees. The intimate gestures between her mother and Uncle Christopher in the car. Their whispers at home when Emma pretends to be asleep, and even when Christopher buys Emma a gift and tells her, "It's our little secret." At that moment, Nathan's heart was completely broken, not only because of his wife's betrayal, but because they actually let Emma become part of this terrible secret. On Saturday, Nathan proposed a family barbecue party and invited several friends, including Christopher. Vanessa looks a little surprised, but quickly agrees. "Great," she said. "I haven't seen Christopher in a long time." Nathan noticed the glint in her eye and the way she quickly turned to text. The day of the party, the sun was shining. Nathan set up the grill in the backyard, and Emma helped set the table. Vanessa spent more time than usual getting ready and wearing her favorite summer dress. Guests are arriving one by one, Christopher being the last. He brought an expensive bottle of wine and a small gift for Emma. Nathan felt a wave of nausea at the sight of the brief but noticeable eye contact between Christopher and Vanessa as they greeted each other. The party went well, and on the surface, everything seemed normal. Nathan came across as friendly and welcoming, pouring drinks, grilling, and telling jokes. No one noticed that he barely drank, but made sure Christopher and Vanessa's glasses were always full. By late afternoon, most of the guests had left, leaving only Christopher, who stayed behind on the pretext of helping with cleanup. Nathan offered to go to the kitchen to get more drinks, but Emma suddenly took his hand. "Daddy, don't go in there," she whispered, fear in her eyes. "They're in there." Nathan gently patted his daughter's shoulder. "It's okay, Emma. Go play in your room for a while, okay?" Emma hesitated, then nodded and left. Nathan took a deep breath and walked to the kitchen. The door was slightly ajar, and he could hear whispers from inside. Pushing the door open, he saw the image that changed his life forever. Christopher held Vanessa close, her hands reaching into his pockets and holding his hands. They were so close together it was as if they were going to melt into one. When they saw Nathan, Christopher quickly let go, but Vanessa didn't flinch. Instead, her expression changed from one of surprise to one of strange relief. "Nathan," she said, her voice awfully calm, "we need to talk." "Yeah, I guess we do need to," Nathan replied, his voice surprisingly steady. "I didn't mean for it to come to this," Vanessa said, but there was no apology in her eyes. "It just happened. Christopher and I." "Oh, come on." Vanessa suddenly changed her tone. "I've been cheating on you behind your back for years, right under your nose. You didn't even notice." Nathan felt a wave of vertigo, but he forced himself to stay calm. Just then, Emma's voice came through the door. "Yes, Dad, everyone knows. He's like our stepfather." Nathan turned to see his daughter standing there with tears on her face. He wondered how long she had been standing there, how much she had heard. "Emma, go to your room," Vanessa snapped. "No," Nathan interrupted. "She's been caught up in this for too long. The two of you are making her keep secrets and making her feel guilty and scared. This is most inexcusable." Christopher finally spoke up. "Nathan, look, we can work this out like adults." Nathan looked at the man he once called a friend and felt a calmness he had never felt before. "Adult? That's funny. Adults don't betray their friends and make a child part of their dirty game." He turned to Emma. "Honey, go pack some clothes and necessities. We're staying somewhere else tonight." Emma nodded and left quickly. "You can't take her," Vanessa called out. "I wouldn't put my daughter in that situation for one more minute," Nathan said. "And as far as our marriage goes, it's over." Nathan left the kitchen and walked toward the den. He opened the safe and took out a flash drive. The flash drive stores all the evidence he's collected over the past few days: text message logs, credit card bills, photos from Emma's diary, and even a hidden camera he installed in his home that captured Vanessa and Christopher in an intimate act in their home. Gathering this wasn't difficult. Nathan was responsible for building security systems, including surveillance equipment, in his job. When he started to get suspicious, installing a few hidden cameras was easy for him. He returned to the kitchen to find Vanessa and Christopher still there, talking in low voices. They seemed more like they were discussing how to deal with the trouble than they were ashamed of their behavior. "I'll have my attorney contact you," Nathan said. I have enough evidence of your unfaithfulness and unfitness to have custody of Emma. What evidence? Vanessa scoffed. Your word against mine? Who will the judge believe? Nathan held up the flash drive. It's not just my words. I have proof that not only did you both betray me, but you involved Emma in this and did damage to her psyche. Vanessa's face changed. You can't do that. It's an invasion of privacy. Invasion of privacy? Nathan shook his head. This is my own home, Vanessa. And I'm sure a judge would be more interested in a mother who lets 12-year-old girls keep adult misconduct a secret. Christopher took a step forward. Look, Nathan, we can talk and find a solution that works for everyone. It's too late for that, Nathan said. You two can continue your relationship, but it won't hurt Emma anymore. Emma had packed a small backpack and was standing at the top of the stairs waiting. Nathan walked over and took her hand. Are you ready? Emma nodded and glanced in the direction of the kitchen. Is Mom going to be okay? Even in this situation, Emma still cares about her mother, which makes Nathan's heart ache even more. She'll be fine, he said. But we need some time and space now. They left the house, Vanessa shouting and threatening behind them, but Nathan didn't look back. In the car, Emma finally breaks down and cries loudly. I'm sorry, Daddy, she sobbed. I should have told you sooner. Nathan took his daughter's hand. It's not your responsibility, Emma. Adult problems shouldn't fall on children. I'm sorry you got caught up in it. They drove to Nathan's sister Melissa's house. Melissa, a divorced single mom, took them in immediately. She prepares the guest room for Emma and then sits with Nathan in the kitchen to talk. Are you okay? She asked, handing him a glass of whiskey. Nathan shook his head. No, it's not good at all, but I'll get through it. What are you going to do next? Nathan took a sip of his drink. First, protect Emma. Then, the divorce process begins. Are you sure? Maybe you could have marriage counseling or dash. No, Melissa, Nathan interrupted. You didn't see that scene in the kitchen. Didn't see the coldness in her eyes. More importantly, she got Emma involved. It's inexcusable. The next morning, Nathan contacted a divorce attorney to schedule a consultation for that afternoon. After listening to his situation, the attorney stated that he had a strong case for custody. But you should know, says the attorney, that divorce cases can get ugly, especially if one party feels humiliated. Be prepared for the worst. Nathan nodded. I'm ready. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Refusing to accept an amicable settlement, Vanessa hired an aggressive attorney who claimed that Nathan was a control freak and that the installation of hidden cameras was evidence of his controlling behavior. But when Nathan's lawyers present Emma's testimony and diary entries, the tables begin to turn against Vanessa. The judge appointed a child psychologist to talk to Emma. The psychologist's report is extremely unfavorable to Vanessa, noting that Emma is under tremendous psychological stress from being forced to keep secrets. Meanwhile, Nathan discovers that Vanessa has begun spreading rumors on social media depicting him as a paranoid husband, and that she's just looking for comfort in her unhappy marriage. Some of her friends started sending Nathan malicious messages, and some even harassed him in front of the company where he worked. Nathan has remained silent and refused to fight back on social media. His attorney advised him to keep a low profile and let the evidence and legal process speak for itself. The court will see the truth, the lawyers said. But the war of public opinion will only hurt Emma. Nathan agrees, though it's painful to see his honor tarnished. He focuses on work and caring for Emma, making sure she continues to receive counseling to help her deal with this family crisis. 3 months later, the court issued a temporary ruling awarding primary custody of Emma to Nathan and limited visitation rights to Vanessa. It was a crushing blow to Vanessa, who obviously didn't see it coming. The very night after the court ruling, Nathan received a text from Vanessa. We need to talk. For Emma. Despite his internal wariness, Nathan agrees to meet at a public coffee shop. When he arrived, Vanessa was already there, looking even more exhausted than he remembered. Thanks for coming, she said, with less of the usual edge in her voice. Nathan just nodded and waited for her to continue. I want you to know, Vanessa said, that I broke up with Christopher. Nathan raised an eyebrow, but didn't comment. I realized I had made a terrible mistake, she continued, tears glistening in her eyes, and that I had not only hurt you, but Emma as well. I want to make amends. Some hurts can't be repaired, Vanessa, Nathan said calmly. I know, but I want to try, she pleaded. I want to regain your trust and be a big part of Emma's life again. Nathan took a deep breath. It's not about my trust. It's about Emma's well-being. She needs time. So what about you? Vanessa asked. Can you forgive me? Nathan looked at the woman in front of him who had once been the center of his life and felt a strange calmness. I don't hate you, Vanessa, but our marriage is over. I hope you find your happiness, but it won't be with me. Vanessa's tears finally flowed. I screwed up everything, didn't I? Yes, Nathan said, his voice neither cruel nor sympathetic, just stating the facts. But life goes on. For Emma's sake, we need to find a way to be civilized. Over the next few months, Vanessa did make changes. She began attending counseling regularly, made a sincere effort to rebuild her relationship with Emma, and was more cooperative during the divorce proceedings. Ultimately, the court awarded primary custody of Emma to Nathan, but gave Vanessa reasonable visitation rights. The divorce settlement was quite favorable to Nathan, considering Vanessa's infidelity and the psychological damage done to Emma. A year later, Nathan and Emma moved into a new home. Emma is slowly recovering from this trauma, although the counselor says it may take her longer to fully process the experience. As for Vanessa, she moved across town to start a new life. As far as Nathan knows, she never contacted Christopher again. On Emma's 13th birthday, she asked Nathan, "Daddy, do you hate Mommy?" Nathan thought for a moment before answering. "No, I don't hate her. Hate only saps our own energy. I put it down, Emma. I hope you can learn to let go as well, though it will take time." Emma nodded. "Where's Uncle Christopher?" "He's the same," Nathan said, though the answer was harder to say than it was about Vanessa. Life's too short to waste on hate. Emma hugged her father. "You're the strongest person I know, Dad." Nathan hugged her back, his heart full of love and protection. "We're strong together, Emma. We're all in this together." When it was late at night and Emma had fallen asleep, Nathan sat on the steps of the backyard, staring up at the stars. He thought about the family gathering that changed everything, about the scene in the kitchen, about Emma's words, "Everyone knows." He couldn't help but wonder if things would have been different if he had noticed the signs earlier. But then he shook his head. The past is in the past. What matters is the present and the future. He pulled out his phone and saw a text from Vanessa wishing Emma a happy birthday, attaching a picture of them eating cake together. Even though everything has changed, life goes on. It wasn't the ending he had hoped for, but he was learning to accept it and move forward. The hurt of betrayal never fully goes away, but Nathan knows that he and Emma will be okay. She will grow into a strong, resilient young woman, and he will continue to be a loving, supportive father. As for vengeance, the cruelest revenge is not retaliation or injury, but justice for oneself and one's daughter through truth and law, and ultimately rebuilding one's life without the shadow of betrayal. It is a silent, dignified victory, far more powerful than any act of retaliation. Time passes, and 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Nathan is now a partner in an architectural design firm specializing in environmentally friendly building projects. Emma is already a 15-year-old girl, smart, independent, and energetic. Though the shadows of the past remain, their lives have found a new balance. Vanessa continues to work as a high school art teacher and maintains a steady but distant relationship with Emma. Every other weekend, Emma would come to stay with her, and the relationship between the two was not as close as it once was, but it had improved significantly. Just when things seemed to be on track, Nathan meets Olivia, an environmental lawyer, at an Architects Association reception. She is witty, funny, confident, and has a lot in common with Nathan. They started dating carefully, and Nathan hadn't felt so relaxed and happy in a long time. "I wasn't ready for Emma to meet anyone," Nathan told Olivia on the third date. "She'd been through so much, and I needed to make sure the timing was right." Olivia nodded understandingly. "Of course, children should be the first priority. We can take our time." However, things don't go according to Nathan's plan. On a whim, Emma comes home early and runs into Nathan and Olivia having coffee in the living room. "Dad." Emma stood in the doorway, her eyes darting between Nathan and Olivia. "Emma, this is my friend Olivia," Nathan said, trying to keep his tone calm. "She's an environmental lawyer, and we're discussing a possible collaborative project." Emma's expression was both confused and wary. "Oh, okay. Hello, Olivia." "Hello, Emma," Olivia said with a smile. Your father talks about you a lot. It's nice to finally meet you in person. Despite Nathan's attempts to keep things light, Emma was visibly down that night. When Olivia left, Emma asked directly, "Is she your girlfriend?" Nathan hesitated and decided to answer honestly. "We're getting to know each other. But I was going to wait until I was sure where this relationship was going to go before I introduced you to it." Emma was silent for a long time, then said, "I see. Are you okay?" Nathan asked, looking at his daughter with concern. "I don't know," Emma admitted. "It feels weird. Ever since you and Mom split up, I've been feeling like it's just the two of us." Nathan sat next to Emma. "No matter what happens, you'll always be the most important person in my life, Emma. If you're uncomfortable with me dating, I'll understand." Emma shook her head. "No, I don't want you to be alone. It just takes some getting used to." In the weeks that followed, Nathan carefully balanced his personal life with his responsibilities to Emma. Olivia showed great understanding, never pressured, and patiently allowed Emma to accept her presence at her own pace. However, an unexpected phone call upsets this fragile balance. "Nathan," Vanessa's voice sounded unusually tense. "We need to talk about Emma." "What happened?" Nathan was immediately alert. "She's been pretty moody when she's been at my place lately," Vanessa explained. "And she mentioned you had a new girlfriend?" Nathan sighed. "Yeah, I started dating." Emma stumbled upon it, although I had intended to present it in a better way. "I think that might be the problem," Vanessa said. "She's confused and probably a little scared. You know, considering our past." Nathan understands Vanessa's implication. "You think she's worried about history repeating itself?" "Yes," Vanessa admitted, with obvious apology in her voice. "She was impressed by our behavior. She may fear that any new relationship will bring similar betrayal and pain." The conversation made Nathan think deeply. He decides to seek the advice of Karen, Emma's counselor. Emma did express some concerns. Karen told Nathan at her appointment time that she was afraid of being drawn into adult relationship issues again. "She's also worried that you'll be hurt like her mom." "What should I do?" Nathan asked, feeling a pang of guilt, even though he knew he had done nothing wrong. "Open communication is key," Karen advises. "Emma needs to know that your relationship is healthy and that both you and Olivia respect each other and her boundaries. Maybe consider a family therapy session that includes you, Emma, and Olivia." Nathan agrees to the suggestion, but when he gets home and prepares to discuss it with Emma, he realizes that she's even more depressed than usual. "What happened?" he asked, sitting on the edge of Emma's bed. Emma hesitated, then pulled her phone out of the nightstand drawer and opened Instagram. "Look at this." On the screen was Christopher's account, and the latest photo showed him on the beach with a young woman. The caption reads, "Having the time of my life with my new love." Nathan frowned. "Why are you still following him?" "I didn't." Emma shook her head. "It was sent to me by Diane, a friend of Mom's. She said I should see what happened to the guy who broke up our family now." Nathan felt a surge of anger. "Diane shouldn't have involved you in any of this." "I'll talk to your mom about it." Emma nodded, but her eyes were still worried. "Dad, do you think people can really change? Someone like Mom and Christopher?" It's a loaded question, and Nathan isn't sure he has the answer. "I think people can learn from their mistakes and make different choices. But it takes real repentance and effort." "So," Emma continued, "do you trust Olivia not to betray you like Mom did?" Nathan finally understood where Emma's concerns lay. "There are no 100% guarantees in a relationship, Emma. But I believe in honesty and communication. Olivia and I are both adults with past experiences and lessons learned. We know what's important." He took Emma's hand. "But most importantly, no matter what happens, my relationship with you will never change. I will always be your father, always love you, and always put you first." Emma's eyes glistened with tears. "I just don't want to see you get hurt again." Nathan hugged his daughter with love and pride in his heart. "This should be something I worry about, not you. You're already much more mature than your age." The next day, Nathan contacted Vanessa to discuss Diane's inappropriate behavior. To his surprise, Vanessa was very supportive. "I'll talk to Diane," she promised. "This is completely unacceptable. Emma shouldn't be involved in these things." Then, Vanessa hesitated and added, "Nathan, about your new relationship. I really hope it turns out well for you. You deserve to be happy." It was the first time Vanessa had expressed such kindness since their separation, and Nathan was a little surprised. "Thank you, Vanessa. I know I've made unforgivable mistakes, she continued, with genuine remorse in her voice. But over the past few years, I've worked hard to be a better person and a better mother. I wish you could see that. I saw it, Nathan admitted, and so did Emma. It's important to her. Over the next few weeks, family therapy sessions helped Emma express her concerns, and Olivia had the opportunity to share her thoughts and commitments. With Karen's guidance, they established healthy lines of communication and clear boundaries. Over time, Emma begins to accept Olivia's presence and even shows occasional signs of enjoying her company. Once, Nathan came home from work to find the two baking together in the kitchen, laughter filling the house. Just when things seem to be on track again, an unexpected event shatters the peace. Nathan, said the company's receptionist hurriedly one morning, there's a man in the lobby who wants to see you. He seemed agitated and said he wouldn't leave if you didn't come out. Nathan frowned and walked down the hall where he saw Christopher. 3 years had passed, and he looked more vicissitudes than Nathan remembered, with a look of desperate hope in his eyes. We need to talk, Christopher said, his voice low but strained. Nathan kept his cool. We have nothing to talk about, Christopher. Please leave, or I will call security. It's about Emma, Christopher said eagerly. I need to apologize. The mention of his daughter's name stopped Nathan in his tracks as he prepared to leave. What about Emma? I've been trying to reach you, but you blocked my number, Christopher explains. I finished a rehab program last. The alcohol and other issues. The 12th step is to apologize to the people I've hurt. Emma is one of them. Nathan felt a wave of anger surge through him. You think you can just show up out of the blue and ask for forgiveness after hurting my family? Especially when Emma is involved. Not forgiveness. Christopher shook his head, just an apology. I know I don't deserve to be forgiven, but I need her to know that I'm ashamed of my behavior, especially involving her in it. Nathan sneered. So this is about your recovery, not Emma's well-being? Christopher lowered his head. I understand your suspicions, but it's not just for me. I'd like the opportunity to apologize to Emma in person, if she's willing. If it doesn't work, I understand. But please at least tell her I'm sorry and that I've changed. Nathan took a deep breath. I'll think about it. Now please leave. That night, Nathan told Emma about it, carefully watching for her reaction. Do you want to see him? It's entirely up to you, Emma, he asked. If you don't want to, I'll let him know. Emma pondered for a moment. Has he really changed? I don't know, Nathan replied honestly. People can change, but it could just be talk. Emma nodded. I think I need time to think about it. A few days later, Emma made the decision. I want to see him, but I want both you and Mom to be there. Nathan reaches out to Vanessa and, surprisingly, she expresses her support for Emma's decision. If it helps her get some kind of closure, I think it's a good thing. They arrange to meet at a public coffee shop. When Christopher arrives, the atmosphere immediately becomes tense. He looked nervous and uneasy, but his gaze was firm. Thank you all for agreeing to see me, he said, turning to Emma. Especially you, Emma. I know this must be hard for you. Emma nodded, but didn't say anything. I want to apologize for my actions, Christopher continued, remorse in his voice. Not only did I betray your father's trust, but I also got you involved in a situation that was too heavy for you. It's completely unacceptable for me to lie to you and ask you to keep secrets. He paused, glanced at Vanessa, and then continued. I was so caught up in my own desires and selfishness that I didn't consider how my actions would hurt you. Now I understand, and I feel deeply guilty. Emma listened quietly, the expression on her face hard to decipher. I don't expect your forgiveness, Christopher said. I just want you to know that I'm ashamed of my behavior and that I'm trying to be a better person. The silence lasted a few seconds. Then Emma spoke. Thank you for apologizing. I need time to process this. Christopher nodded. Of course, I completely understand. Emma looked thoughtful as she left the coffee shop. In the car, she finally said, he seemed genuine. Nathan nodded. Yeah, he looks it. It doesn't mean I've forgiven him, Emma added, but hearing him apologize feels helpful. Nathan prompted. Yes, in a way. It's like the end of something. The next day, Vanessa called Nathan with emotion in her voice. Thank you for your support yesterday. That's important to me, too. For Emma's sake, we need to work together, Nathan replied. Not just for Emma, Vanessa said, but for ourselves. Nathan, I've been meaning to formally apologize to you, not just for the betrayal, but for my behavior afterward, trying to deflect blame, using social media to spread rumors. Those were some of the lowest points in my life. Nathan felt a strange sense of relief. I accept your apology, Vanessa. We've all made mistakes, and we're all learning and growing. Do you forgive me? She asked softly. Nathan thought for a moment. I think I've let go of my anger and resentment. It's not a decision to forgive, it's a decision to move on. That's enough for me, Vanessa said, relief in her voice. I know we'll never go back to the way things were, but maybe we can have a healthier relationship for Emma's sake. I think we're already on that path, Nathan agreed. A few months later, Nathan and Olivia's relationship continues to grow and become more serious. Emma also develops a genuine friendship with Olivia, and although still keeping her at arm's length, is noticeably more accepting of her than before. One night, Nathan and Olivia were enjoying some quiet time in the backyard, and Emma was already in bed. You know, Olivia said, looking up at the stars, when we first started dating, I was so worried that Emma would never accept me. Nathan nodded. She's been through a lot. Trust is hard for her. But she's stronger than most adults, Olivia exclaimed. And she reminds me of you. The same resilience, the same honesty. Nathan smiled. Thank you for being patient with her. It's not just patience, Olivia said, turning to Nathan. I love you, Nathan. I've also come to love Emma like she was already a part of my life. Nathan felt a deep sense of happiness and peace. I love you too, Olivia. We've been through so much together, and you've been there, firm and supportive. Olivia took his hand. How do you think Emma will react to us taking our relationship further? Are you asking me what Emma would think if I proposed? Nathan asked with a raised eyebrow. Olivia laughed. Maybe. I think she'll take time to get used to the idea, Nathan says earnestly. But she sees the respect and love between us. It's nothing like what she's experienced in the past. A few days later, Nathan sits down to talk to Emma about the future of his relationship with Olivia. I'm thinking about proposing to Olivia, he told his daughter directly. But I want to know what you think and feel. Emma was quiet for a moment, then asked, Do you love her? Like you used to love Mom? Yes, Nathan replied, but in a different way. Your mom and I fell in love when we were young, and we grew up together. With Olivia, we both came together with past experiences and lessons learned. It's a more mature, thoughtful kind of love. Emma nodded. I can see that. She makes you happy. But most importantly, Nathan emphasized, no matter what happens, you will always be my first priority. If you're uncomfortable with that, I'd wait. Emma thought for a moment, then gave a small smile. I think I'll be fine, Dad. Olivia is a good person. She's not like Christopher, Nathan finished for her. Yes, she isn't. I just want you to be happy, Daddy, Emma said. Just like you always wanted me to be. Nathan hugged his daughter with tears in his eyes. You've grown up, Emma. I'm proud of you. A month later, Nathan plans a small but romantic proposal with Emma's help. Olivia surprises her with acceptance, and the three celebrate together as their new family begins to take shape. In the lead-up to the wedding, an unexpected complication arose. Whether to invite Vanessa to the wedding? Emma wants her mother to attend, but Nathan isn't sure that's appropriate. After much deliberation, Nathan decides to honor Emma's wishes. When he told Vanessa about the decision, she was grateful but reserved. I'm not sure it's appropriate, she said. It's your and Olivia's special day, and my presence might cause unnecessary tension. It's important for Emma, Nathan explains, and, honestly, I think it could be a big step forward for all of us. Vanessa eventually agrees, but promises to keep a low profile. On the day of the wedding, everything was perfect. Nathan and Olivia exchanged vows, and Emma stood beside them as a bridesmaid. When Nathan gave his speech at the wedding, he thanked Emma specifically for her support and understanding. My daughter taught me what true courage and forgiveness are, he said, his voice quivering slightly with emotion. And she reminded me that even in the darkest of moments, there is still light and hope. Emma, you are the greatest gift in my life. Emma wiped away her tears and smiled at her father and new stepmother. She even danced with her mother during the reception, a scene that surprised and touched all who knew their history. After the wedding, life began to settle into a new normal. Olivia moved into their home and brought new energy and warmth to the family. She honors the special connection between Nathan and Emma while working to build her own relationship with Emma. One night, While Nathan was helping Emma prepare her college applications, she suddenly asked, "Dad, do you regret what happened in the past? About Mom and Christopher?" Nathan stopped what he was doing and thought hard about the question. "I regret that you had to go through that kind of hurt. But personally, I don't regret the direction our lives have taken. Look where we are now. You are a strong, smart young woman. I found happiness with Olivia, and even your mom found inner peace. Sometimes we have to go through brokenness to rebuild better." Emma nodded. "I think I understand. I used to wonder what would have happened to everything if I hadn't told you the truth that day. But now I think that was the right decision, as difficult as it was." "That was very brave," Nathan said. "You were only 12 years old, and you did something that a lot of adults can't do." Emma smiled. "I have a good example. College application season is upon us, and Emma has received offers from several top colleges. She ended up choosing an excellent school not far from home, so she could come home more often. At her high school graduation, Nathan, Olivia, and Vanessa sat together and shared their pride in Emma's accomplishments. At the celebratory dinner after the ceremony, Vanessa pulls Nathan aside. "I wanted to thank you," she said earnestly, "not just for inviting me today, but for all the years you've raised Emma. You're an amazing father, Nathan. Even after I made that mistake, you still let me be a part of her life." Nathan smiled. "We all just want the best for her." "Yes," Vanessa agreed, tears in her eyes. "We did, didn't we? Despite all the mistakes and injuries, she has grown into an amazing young woman." Nathan looked over at Emma, who was laughing and talking with her friends, anticipation of the future shining in her eyes. "Yes, we did." Years later, as Emma graduated from college and began her own career, Nathan often thought back to the house party that changed everything. On that day, his world collapsed, but out of the rubble, a new and stronger foundation was built. The cruelest revenge is not through anger or retaliation, but through growth and happiness. Looking at his life now, his happy marriage to Olivia, Emma's success, and even the courteous mutual respect he's built with Vanessa, Nathan knows he's gotten the perfect revenge, a life of love, honesty, and trust in his life. It wasn't the life he had imagined as a young man, but it was real, something he had chosen and built for himself. After all the brokenness, they both found healing and became stronger. Sometimes the darkest betrayal can lead to the brightest new beginning. This is Nathan's story, a story of betrayal, loss, revenge, but ultimately about forgiveness and rebuilding. In the sea of life, storms are inevitable, but the way you sail determines the final destination. Nathan chose truth, dignity, and love as his compass, and it led him to a better place than the harbor he left. This is perhaps the most important lesson in life. Sometimes what breaks can be reshaped into a more beautiful and sturdy form. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.